Hello, and welcome to our Education USA webinar on how to finance graduate studies in the United States, specifically for Canadian students. So we have an expert here with us today who's going to help let you know more about this particular topic. I'm just going to, for 1 second, tell you about Education USA. Education USA is a free advising service. I'm the advisor here in Canada, and I provide unbiased and timely information about studying in the United States. And if you have any questions after this particular webinar, I'd be happy to follow up with you. And you will see my email and website at the end of this presentation. And please help me welcome Carol Johnson. She works for Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey, and she is going to take it away from here. Thank you so much for being with us, Carol, and I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased and honored to be able to speak with you all today. So my name is Carol Johnson, and I'm an enrollment advisor here at the Middlebury Institute. My official title is Senior Assistant Director of Global Recruiting. I've been here 8 years now. For the first 7 years of my time here at the Middlebury Institute, I was doing admissions in addition to the recruiting. So I have read a lot of graduate applications. I've been involved in scholarship awarding, and of course the admission decision. And I'm just going to give you some tips and some information I think could be helpful to you. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today. So the first thing, this was actually, I got some of these tips from a website specifically for Canadian applicants, but this really applies to anybody that wants to apply to a U.S. graduate school. One of the things they suggest is first, realistically assess your ability to do well in the program. You know, if your maybe English skills are not pretty exceptional, you may really struggle with the amount and level of coursework. So it's always helpful if your English skills can be as strong as possible. Obviously, if you're a native English speaker, you know, you don't have to worry so much about that, but you want to make sure that you're ready for graduate school. And then the topic that we're going to cover today is make sure you have enough money to pay for school and living expenses. This is a lot. Graduate school is expensive. It's a big investment in not only, you know, money and resources, but your time and your energy. So, you know, make sure that you're ready for that. And of course, we're going to talk about how to maximize your scholarships, how to find outside scholarships, how to find many different ways to finance your education. And you'll see more details later. So one of the first things is know the deadlines and apply early. For our graduate school, in most graduate schools, there may be 1 or 2 different deadlines, but often the earlier you apply, the more likely you are to get a higher scholarship award. We are given a pool of funds to use for merit and need-based scholarships in the beginning of the admission cycle. And the first deadlines, the earlier deadlines, were more likely to give a larger award to the students that look like a great fit. So good to know when those deadlines are. Go check the websites of any schools you're interested in and find out when that is. Find out what they want for transcript requirements. If your transcripts happen to be in a language other than English, they need to be translated. There are lots of services across Canada and the US that can help to either translate or evaluate your transcripts. We're pretty good about being able to evaluate if your undergraduate GPA is on a different, what do I want to say? Not on a 4.0 scale. If you are not a non-native English speaker, take and study for the TOEFL. It's always good to do this early because just in case your TOEFL scores don't meet the minimum requirements, It'll give you a chance to, you know, maybe study a little bit more. Once you've taken the test, you have a better idea of what it's going to ask. And do study for it, even if it's a quick online TOEFL prep class. The same thing for the GRE. Most graduate schools in the US will require GRE test scores. Again, if you're going to take it, study and prepare for it. You know, you want to do as good as possible. Some schools are going to be more interested in your quantitative scores, which are more science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They're more interested in those skills. A school that's a little more liberal arts based, as ours, we're more concerned with your verbal and your analytical writing scores. But, you know, the higher the better on all of them. For us, for it to be impressive, it's good if your scores are above the 75th or the 80th percentile, so that we can see you're in the top 20 or 25% of test takers. As far as your statement of purpose, write down, you know, what you feel, why you want to come to the school, what has made you decide this path, either for graduate school or a career, and then rewrite it, and then sharpen it, and make sure your grammar and your spelling are there. Feel free to have somebody read it, you know, a friend or colleague or classmate, but please do your own work. You know, make sure that it comes from you only. And I always say, don't forget to be creative. The statements of purpose that I've read that are the most engaging have a creative story that goes along with it. And you can see this last fact. Over 27,000 Canadians studied in the US in 2015. We'd like that number to grow, and we'd love to have more Canadian students join our US institutions. So one of the first things you might want to do is calculate the cost. How much will it cost you to go to grad school? What I usually suggest to people is, you know, go to a website. Usually the tuition is listed in what the tuition per year is. Some master's programs are 2 semesters, some are 3, some are 4. So you want to divide the annual tuition by 2 semesters and then multiply that cost by the number of semesters that you'll be studying. If you're going to get a merit scholarship, a need-based scholarship, a teaching assistantship, you need to subtract that amount from your tuition cost. And then you also want to see what the school's estimated cost of attendance for 1 year. This is something that is required for international students applying for a student visa. You need to be able to show that you have enough money in your bank account to cover the cost of 1 year of study, minus any scholarships or grants or things that you get. So it's important to know what that number is. And we cannot issue, a US school cannot issue you the documents to apply for a student visa until we've seen that you have enough money to cover your tuition and living expenses for the first year. So here are some ways to fund your education. Number one, first you have to sit down and figure out what can you contribute from either your personal savings or family savings or something like that. That gives you a good place to start. Then you're going to want to look at what kind of scholarships can you get. Most schools will give merit-based scholarships. These are based on how strong of a candidate you are. How good a fit are you for the school? Do we feel you're going to be successful in the program? Do we feel that you know, you've got the academic capabilities for the program? Do we think you have a lot to add? And you know, how badly do we want you to join our school? Need-based scholarships are, again, based on your financial background, what you might need. Maybe do you have any kind of prior student loans. We often will give people need-based scholarships if we see that they have debt from their undergraduate school, and we want to help them out there. And partner and affiliation scholarships. Each school has their own international partnerships or even domestic partnerships. We have a list on our website, but go and look and see what those are. It might be that your school or an organization you belong to, some kind of volunteer or service work you've done will make you eligible for that kind of a scholarship. Teaching and research assistantships. Most graduate schools that are in a big research institution will offer teaching assistantships or research assistantships, which will significantly lower your tuition. Sometimes it covers your entire tuition, sometimes just part, but it's certainly something to look into. The provincial government sponsorship, I will give you some more information on that in a couple of slides, and other outside scholarships that I will mention. Not that it will help you on the front end, but once you get to your university, there are work-study opportunities, so you can work on campus, usually up to 20 hours a week. Internships, which you can do during and after you complete your master's degrees, and I'll talk more about that. And then student loans. You know, most American students who come to school at our university take out some sort of student loan, whether it's through a government or private, but usually that helps to fill in the gaps that you have. So here's some tips from all the years that I read applications and helped make the scholarship decision. Again, I mentioned apply early. Sometimes there's priority or early decision deadlines, so try to get in as soon as possible. Make sure you submit the strongest application you can. You want the people who are reading and looking at your application to hear all the best things about you through your letters of recommendation. The things that tell us that you're a great fit for the program, that you've made a wise decision to come here, that you've thought about it, that you know what you're going to learn. So, you know, make sure it's strong. Your resume, update it, statement of purpose. And I always tell people the most impressive applications are when I see that they've done their research about the school. When I hear from someone, oh, I'm so interested in second language acquisition, and I see that Professor Hee-Kyung Lee is an expert in this area and is doing work, and I look forward to learning more about second language acquisition from her. Those are good things to know so that we know you really understand what you're going to learn and how you might apply that to your future career. Having a strong resume, we have probably 20–25% of our students come right from undergrad, but relevant experience is helpful. Even if it's volunteer work, even if it's some short 1-month seminar or trip abroad, more things that we can see that are kind of led you to this point, why you're interested here. And again, demonstrate your fit for the program, both for the institute or university and for the degree program. Why do you think that you're going to be a great addition to the program, and why is the school a good choice for you? We like to see somebody is clear about their academic and their career goals. Part of our admission interview here is asking about their career goals. We want to make sure that they're realistic, that we really are the best school to help you reach those goals, and that we think we can really help you achieve them. And if there's some weakness in your transcripts or something in your background, I always say don't harp on it, don't spend a lot of time, but do mention it. If you had a GPA, grade point average, that was a little below a minimum, you can offset that sometimes with strong GRE scores. Maybe the first 2 semesters in college, you were really struggling with having lots of freedom, or with the coursework, or culture shock or something, briefly speak to the weakness. I really had a hard time the first 2 years, but once I got more involved in my major and I was taking classes that I loved, you can see that my GPA definitely improved, and lead us to the strong aspects of your application, and explain in a positive way how you've improved. Those things are important. And when somebody reads all these things and we get done and feel that you're a really strong candidate, then that's when we're going to really give you a significant merit-based scholarship award. Every school is different of how much they might give for scholarship awards. Private schools, I think, like our school, are a little more generous in merit-based scholarships, but we can't offer teaching assistantships, which many state or public schools can offer you. So one of the first places that a Canadian student can look is to contact the Education USA office, or look more into Fulbright Canada. Fulbright is a program administered by the US State Department. The Institute for International Education administers it for the State Department. There's 2 kinds of awards. There's a traditional Fulbright Student Award. Again, it's $15,000 for a 1 to 9 month academic year. All disciplines can be taken into this. It can be working at a think tank or a government agency. Again, Jenica Heim can tell you more about how to apply and what the application requires. And then Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant programs. We see a lot of people who are fluent in another language that do these teaching assistant programs within a university. It pays for their room and board and visa and health insurance, and usually they can take classes on the campus while they're working as a teaching assistant. And we'll have more information from the Education USA host Jenica at the end of the program, and her contact information. So another wonderful thing that Canadian students have is the provincial scholarships. I have here, there may be opportunities from every province. These are the 4 major ones, and I think maybe most of you are from these provinces. The links are there to information, and they could be scholarships, bursaries, sometimes 0 or low interest loans, or they have a really positive loan repayment. But Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, and again, the links are there if you do a search. Definitely look there. We've had a couple of students from British Columbia that have applied through Student Aid BC, and it's really helped them to finance their program. Another organization that offers scholarships is the Organization of American States. This organization pretty much covers all of North and South America, but for Canadian students, there are self-placed scholarships at a non-OAS university. You would apply directly to admission and the school that you're interested in, and then you will go back and apply for a scholarship to help you fund that program. Then the self-placed is where you actually apply to the Organization of American States, and then, you apply directly to up to 3 programs in universities that are on this consortium of universities list, and you can click on that to see what that is. But it has to be located in up to 3 different countries. So this may be an opportunity you haven't heard of before, and I certainly invite you to go find out more about this kind of scholarship. Then there's really a pretty long list of other types of scholarships depending on the program that you're interested in, whether it's a research, whether it's in STEM programs, but you can see this list here. And if you click on any one of the links, it will take you to that information, and it lets you know who it's managed by. But these are certainly other places to go and look to find ways to help finance your programs. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these opportunities once you get on campus. Teaching assistantships for graduate programs, they usually provide significant financial support to you as a graduate student, because you will be either helping teach a class or grading papers or help develop teaching materials, and sometimes supporting the research of one of the faculty in your program. Sometimes a teaching assistantship will cover the full cost of your tuition. It varies from school to school, but certainly something to think about, and a great opportunity. Not only are you going to be in a learning environment, but you also have some teaching experience too. It's great if you can contact the department chair or one of the key faculty in the department where you're interested. Express your interest. Let them know you want to apply and you're interested in a teaching assistantship. Find out what kind of positions they have or what they're looking for. And a lot of times that can be the catalyst for the faculty to say, oh yes, I want that student to get admitted because I think they'd be a great teaching assistant. They have background, either professional or volunteer or academic experience that would really be helpful to my department. So that's something. Sometimes when you apply, when you get the admission decision, there will also be, along with any other scholarships, will be a teaching assistant offer made to you. And again, sometimes it can cover your full tuition. We don't have an undergraduate class here. We're just a small private graduate school, and we're focused on giving people the training and preparation for international career. But we do offer any of our international students institute work study. So that means they can work in offices or work with faculty on various departments on campus. You're allowed to work up to 20 hours per week. That's the maximum. Many times the advisors or faculty will say, why don't you keep it to 10 hours? Because you're going to be really busy with your academic studies. Kind of rule of thumb, for every hour that you spend in class as a graduate student, you will have 2 hours more of work outside of class. So if you have a master's program that's going to be 15 credits or 15 units per semester, that will equate to 15 hours in class per week. And you add 2 more, and that means you have a 45-hour work week starting. So that's a pretty big commitment. Again, for work study, it can only be on campus. Depending on the position, they can pay anywhere from $9 to $14 per hour. In California, a new law got passed. If you do any work study in California, it's a minimum $10 per hour. And again, it can be higher. And so how does it work? How do you get a work study position? Well, first, you need to go and look on the website and see what positions are open, because you have to apply, interview. Sometimes we can do this by phone or Skype with you before you arrive here, and you have to actually be hired for the program. So it's not like you are given a work study position. You have to apply for it just like you would a job in the outside. Review the job postings. Make sure that they are available for international students. We have some work study positions on our campus, and I think other schools do too, that are partially funded by federal student loans. And that's just for permanent residents or U.S. students. So you have to make sure the job is available to international students. Departments start posting them right before the semester starts. So usually 3-6 months prior to the semester, there's not much there. But right before the semester starts, that's when you'll see the jobs posted. And again, apply early, because sometimes there's 20 students all vying for the same position. How's everybody doing so far? You hanging in? Am I going too fast? Okay, so here's something maybe you didn't know about. You are allowed to work during your master's degree and after your master's degree as part of your F1 student visit. So first of all, the curricular practical training is something that's when you do a paid or unpaid internship or go off and get some practical experience that relates directly to your field. And this can be up to 20 hours per week. You do have to apply for it. Your immigration advisor on the campus that you enroll in will be able to help you how to apply this. But it's a great opportunity. For example, we have master's degrees in translation and interpretation, and students may get the opportunity to go, work at a local nonprofit doing interpretation. They may be able to, take a court deposition over a weekend, things that they can actually get paid for, but they directly relate to their field. And sometimes we have students that will, go to Peru over the winter break, and students will all be working on an international development project or an environmental project, and they can, get CPT, curricular practical training credit for that. And then OPT, optional practical training, is what you apply for when you complete your master's degree. And this allows you to work in the US for pay. It can be paid or unpaid, but most of the time it's paid unless it's for a really amazing organization. For up to 1 year for most programs, but for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programs, STEM programs, it can be up to 36 months in your specified field. And it's not unusual for our students who do OPT at a local company or organization or anywhere in the world. Once they've been trained and they see how qualified, how well prepared they are, sometimes they even get offered a job and are offered a position where they will be sponsored. Now, that doesn't happen all the time. It's, fairly common that we see here because our programs are, really specified, but it's a great opportunity. And it certainly helps you for your employment outcomes once you go back to Canada, because you can already show that you've had training during your degree and then real work experience here in the US for up to 1 year or 36 months. So cool thing to know about CPT and OPT. So time for questions now, and you can see here on this page is the contact information for the Education USA office in Ottawa, and that will be our hostess, Jenica. It's got email, website, and phone number, and then my contact information if you'd like to learn more. There was one of our audience today was interested in our school. I'm more than happy to have you contact me at this information and we can talk more about that. So, should we open it up for questions now?
Thank you so much, Carol. I'll jump in here too.
Great. Okay, I'm going to answer Mackenzie's question. Can I answer that verbally, or do I need to type it?
So answer it verbally, and since we're recording, if you don't mind just repeating the question so that it catches on the recording.
Great. So it says, how do you know if applicants have remaining debt from past student loans? Is there a place to report this in the application? The answer is yes. You have to fill out a financial aid application, and it will ask you, quite a few things, like almost when you're applying for credit. We want to know, what you've paid in, what your tax returns say the past few years, if anything. Do you have any student debt? How much do you still owe? So that all comes out in your financial aid application. That helpful? You're welcome, Mackenzie. Any other questions, folks? Anybody out there applying to grad school in the USA?
I'll jump in and say a couple things about Fulbright where we're waiting. I'm sure there'll be a couple more questions that come in.
Great.
So the Fulbright program, I think something that's really important is there's some people from diverse countries in the room. The program information that we showed on a previous slide is specifically for Canadian students. So the award for students is $15,000, and that's for you to use, and it's 1 year towards your tuition or living expenses, however you choose to use it as a student. And that can be as a fully enrolled student, or it can be as for a research program. So if you want to do research with as Carol was mentioned reading the description, it could be with a university, or it could be a government organization or think tank. So you can do a 9-month research project rather than fully enrolling with a university. And so the next one, Carly says, oh, she's just letting us know. She's in Chicago School of Professional Psychology. Congratulations, Carly. Do you have does anybody have any specific questions to Fulbright, or any other questions for Carol?
Did you learn something today? Did I offer you a little bit of information that maybe you didn't know about before? I'm hoping that's the case. I learned something doing research about the program, so it was good for me too. I love learning new things. So the question we just got for graduate students, what is the best online portals to look for scholarships? I searched through some Canadian websites, but if I can go back to this slide, I found this on a website that was scholarships for Canadian students, and it was on a Canadian government education website. I'm sorry, I don't have that link, but it had listed, more than this. This was specifically for graduate level study and research, and this is a pretty good list. So check that out.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the chat.
And again,
so for graduate students,
I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the chat. So for graduate students, sorry, Carol, there was a little delay there. I was just saying I was going to grab the link for you, and then I was just saying I was going to grab the link for you, and then Here we go.
Again, I would also say look carefully at the website of the school that you want to apply to, because many times, like on our website, we have a list of partner and affiliation programs where we give scholarships. You may find something there. I always tell people to think about any organizations that you belong to, women's organizations or specific ethnic organizations. Also your church. Sometimes there's scholarships there. Maybe they're only $1,000 or $2,000 a year, but certainly look at religious organizations or organizations that you might belong to, especially if maybe they do service work or volunteer work. There are opportunities there too. It takes a little research, but they're out there. Thanks for those links. Any other questions, folks? So I will mention in a lot of the photographs and the slides, the background pictures are all pictures around the Monterey Bay area. So we're pretty lucky to be in a place like this. Students can walk to the beach just like this in about 5 minutes from our campus.
All right, well, it looks like we're not getting any more questions coming through, so thank you all for your participation today, and feel free to follow up with Carol with specific questions that hopefully she can answer either in regards to her university or funding as a whole, or you can feel free to follow up with me. As I mentioned before, I am going to send you a recording of the presentation, and from there you can also request the slides. Thank you so much, Carol, for your expertise today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with everybody. Thanks, everybody. Take care.